This to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25. Toss to White. He's in. What a comeback.
All right, welcome to another episode of the 28-3 podcast. I'm Max back here with Corey and Nick. It's been about, 2 weeks?
Yeah, what's up, dude? How you been?
You're looking good, man. It's been a while.
Hanging in. Been, on a retreat, White Lotus, Thailand.
There you go.
It's been nice.
Did you have a good time?
It was pretty stressful. Full moon party. I got some bad news about my financial business. It's pretty rough.
There you go. Well, this one's been off skiing, so.
Only for 2 days. It wasn't much.
But it's only 2 days?
Yeah. I left Friday, and we skied Saturday and Sunday. I flew back Sunday, got back at 3 a.m.
How many more episodes are we going to have with, the bougie, what's Nick been up to? No offense. It's just
that's every episode, I think.
Last time it was about the prawns in Spain or something like that.
Oh, yes.
now we're skiing, but it's only 2 days.
Spain's in a couple of weeks. This was France.
Man.
Yeah.
Scotland's next week.
Where'd you go skiing?
Vale.
Okay. That's all right. Feels all right. It's no snow mask, but
that was last year.
Not that I know shit about it. But I've literally
You're not wrong.
I've literally never been.
We should. Your better pivot there would have been Aspen, right next to Snowmass. But
Aspen.
That's the bougie. That's the bougie is the bougie.
There you go.
You bring your Samsonite.
Good reference. I like that. That was low-hanging fruit, but I'm glad you went for it. I like it.
He was way off.
Another shrimp on the barbie. But anyway, back to Saints, I guess. Saints
podcast,
right?
Well, I think for the last episode, we had just traded for Davin Godchaux.
Yep.
And a lot has happened since then. So we should probably go through those and kind of give your thoughts. Eric Reed, who wants to go first?
I love the signing. It's that exact time of year where no matter what we do during this period, the free agent, the last time we were in the tampering period, now we're full on. Every national talking head is giving us Fs, giving us Ds. What the hell are the Saints doing? They got no money. And so it doesn't even matter who the player is. Everybody's saying this is terrible. But, screw all that. Eric Reed is a damn good ball player. You got to love the local factor. Me being the homer that I am.
Did you say Eric Reed?
Eric Reed? That's his brother,
yes.
Right? This one's Justin? Yeah.
Better NFL career, less acclaimed college
I wouldn't be
career,
that mad if we signed Eric, but I'd be maybe vet men, maybe. But no, it's a good signing. He's got the Super Bowl experience. He's a good player. I think the contract was fine.
I think what that contract showed us, though, is all the people discussing that we were immediately moving into a rebuild. That is not the case. Every move since our last podcast has been to the contrary of a rebuild, in my opinion. You've restructured everyone on the roster now.
Yeah.
You signed a big safety, who I also think is a really great player.
Whoa, hold on. No. Pay cut for Matthew. Pay cut for Cam.
It's been a mix.
Yeah, it's been a mix, and they haven't touched Taysom.
They haven't touched Taysom, which we thought they wouldn't touch anyway. The pay cuts are good. They weren't big, though.
I'm gonna push back on that. They're pretty solid.
What's the total we saved on the?
Cam's pay cut was pretty.
Cam talked about it
big.
a lot publicly, but
Matthew didn't take. $4 or $5, $6 million, something like that
for this year amount. Total.
It's a decent amount. We have $28 million in cap space right now. So and they haven't even touched Taysom, which they still can.
But you generated a lot of that cap room by pushing it off. Now we can roll that cap room. Obviously, we know that.
Well, no. But those players, they're straight up pay cuts.
Those two, I agree. But all the moves have eaten up a whole bunch of cap into the future. There's no debating that.
The Juwan Johnson one, they were going to have to take that hit this year.
Punted it down the road.
Chase Young's.
And it was a pretty big contract, probably more than any of us thought he would get.
Oh, absolutely. I hate that signing.
We could also reference what we said kind of towards the end of last episode where, Max, you brought up the Saints got $40 million in cap space for next year, and then I was quickly like, that's next year. For now. Or you said for now. And I said for now. And you're like, nah, they'll keep it. And
my point is you're not bringing in a 28-year-old safety if you're rebuilding.
Right.
You're
I
just
agree
not.
with you, yeah.
So we know where Loomis's head's at. He's in the same Loomis, strategy that he's been in his whole time here. He just refuses to truly just reboot,
Well,
right?
that kind of-
I'm not
yeah.
saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's what he's doing. It makes you wonder what this close to 30 million was for. My instant reaction was Asante Samuel was what he was going to do, but then we signed Yadam. So
Yeah.
I don't know if if there was speculation over it being something to do with Carr. Then we've had the Cam Ward speculation, all these things. But why did we get this cap room ready this year?
There's been a lot of
I think it's for next year.
yeah
gonna
interesting
roll it
talks
over.
about it. Who was it in our Discord with the singular rollover minutes from back in the day? You can roll it over to next year, and so
But why do it right now, I guess is my question.
well, you have to. If
it's
you're
kind
gonna,
of
if the
weird.
idea is to have, I mean, I guess there's a few different ways to look at it. You can just have it for just sheer flexibility. You just want the room to navigate. To you never know what'll come up. You never know what team's going to do some weird release or whatever. Who's going to be interested in you? You never know what trade partners are going to pop out of the woodwork, and then you never know how things are going to matriculate with Carr. I mean, I think we have an idea of what it seems like, as in they're going to try to jettison him next year. So that would seem like the most, I guess I could use the word immediate, but it's a year from now. The most applicable place for that money is to go to the dead cap hit you're going to take on if you get rid of him next year, even in a post June 1 scenario.
But I don't know how
But-
that's more advantageous than just waiting, I guess is my question. If that's really what it's about.
But it doesn't hurt it.
But I guess if you have it, what a lot of the guys that look a lot more into the cap and the realities of signing guys than I do, they make good points that even if you are bringing in a new free agent, unless you're signing the top guy on the market, who's even the top guy on day one of free agency, you're not going to eat up $20 million just from a free agent signing this year. A free agent
well,
signing
if it was Asante Samuel, it would be, or close to it. It'd be 15 to 20 almost for sure.
this year's cap hit. Because the way Mickey
Well, you can punt it down the road if you want, but he's a
Which they
$15+
would.
million
Which they would.
He's a $15 million guy, is what I'm saying. It's
right,
a
but
big signing.
there's no way the cap
if you
hit
were
this
gonna,
year would be 15 mil.
But if you were going to do a 1 year 15 mil, unless you did the void years and all that stuff, then sure. So, this is, we always say a lot. Like, we're just speculating. We don't really know. We really don't know with this one.
It's just odd because
Yeah.
you didn't need to do it right now. Is my only point. It could have waited.
So one thing,
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt. So I don't.
no, it definitely doesn't hurt. We know. I think that's the one thing we know about this. It does not hurt whether you're going to use it this year. But it's not like if you don't use it,
It's
you
not a
lose it.
use it or lose it
Right.
thing. So
Yeah. I mean, you get the rollover minutes.
Yeah.
But one thing, as you were talking about it, brought up is that when people, the talking heads, the national media said, well, now the Saints, and even we said it, now the Saints have to rebuild. It would be to their best interest to actually go in and do a real rebuild. It got me thinking, we don't actually know what that looks like under Mickey Loomis. Not only does he do
He's not going
things,
to do it.
but not
I
only
think
does,
we do
but
know.
even if he was doing it, when has he ever rebuilt?
That's what I'm saying. He's never done it. So he's
So,
Well,
that's
hold on.
not
We
where,
went 7-9. 3 straight years?
but he's never really gone in and pulled the trigger on rebuild mode.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
But what denotes a rebuild? Because I'm going to push back and say they went 7-9 the 3 straight years after, what was it, 12, 13, 14? Or 13, 14, 15, whatever it was, after we had one of the years we had the worst defense in NFL history.
I think
Breeze somehow dragged us to a 7-win season on that.
I think a rebuild would be.
Well, are you saying that they have to bottom out and have like a top 5 pick to be in rebuild? Or
Well,
is 3 straight 7-9?
That's the thing. It's an open question because I think the national media they see how other teams operate, whether the other team is in a compete window, whether the other team is kind of middle of the road, or if a team elsewhere is in full rebuild. The teams we see in full rebuild are just cold releasing guys, best players, big cap hits,
trading them for late picks.
They're gone.
Yeah.
We see how the rest of the league operates, and so I think the
That's
whole,
a fire sale, though. You can rebuild without doing that.
and you can, but that's the
Yeah.
thing. I think the national media sees how other teams traditionally do a rebuild, and then they see what we're doing, and they're like, well, wait, that's not a rebuild.
Well, because
And
a
I'm not saying
rebuild
it
is way easier with a lot of flexibility. So that's why you see those
Yeah.
things. We don't have a lot of flexibility. So to do a rebuild this way, you have to be perfect kind of across the board. Max is right. You can get better. The Eagles kind of rebuilt without rebuilding. They just kept drafting well.
Right.
That's a way to rebuild.
That's the key. You have to draft. well.
so it
The
can be
Rams
done,
kind of did it.
but you're
The
not.
Vikings did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Vikings, when were they terrible, though?
Well, no, their cap was kind of a mess, and then they just kind of did a full-on reset of it, but they drafted well, so.
They decided to not.
They never got as bad as
Cousins,
I feel like we might be in the last few years.
Yeah, but look, we went, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was 7-9, 3 straight seasons, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Then we had the 17 draft. That's what switched it. That's
And the
what really
16
switched.
draft was really good, which we talked about last time. So the 16 and 17 bounced it back.
Yeah.
So we won 5 games this past year, so 5-12 because there's the extra game now. I'm going to say you can rebuild using that same philosophy, but that they did back in 2016 and 17, but you absolutely have to nail the draft this year and next year.
Right.
Because I think
also,
they can rebuild.
Right. And I think
no
that's
problem.
the misnomer where, a lot of people, maybe even Saints fans that don't want to truly look in the mirror about what Loomis has been doing, when they say rebuild, they want to see what other teams do. They want to see the fire sale.
So you're saying
I'm not saying I want to see it.
You're talking about the tank.
Yeah,
option.
like other teams, like behaviors that indicate that the team truly is not trying to compete.
Yeah, but you really don't see that in
And
the
I don't think
NFL,
I am not an advocate for that at all.
Yeah.
There's no good case.
You've
for
been on
tanking.
record against that forever.
There's no
I
good
don't
case.
agree with it. I don't agree with it. But I think there are teams and their behavior,
but
sometimes the way the Browns operate,
I
Jags,
think
Giants, like it's clear when they're getting rid of guys and
but it's not the NBA, dude. There's no tanking in the NFL.
If you're rebuilding though, and you think you're in a trying to bring the team back, I think there's an argument to be made. You don't sign 28-year-old safeties to nice contracts.
Yeah, I don't think we're rebuilding.
Right,
but,
I don't.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The difference, because I do agree with Max. There's a way to get better without shedding the entire roster.
Yeah.
But it needs to be smart. You need to gravitate towards younger players, so there's time for them to get better while you draft behind them, and you build that next group of stars.
I mean, yeah.
So I think we're mostly all on the same page. But
It's
I
interesting
like
how
the
they've
player,
gone
just
about
getting
it.
back to it.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. I think he's probably even better than, I don't think he's ever made a Pro Bowl, but he to me, he looks like a Pro Bowl player.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
And it's a massive need.
Massive need.
It is surprising he has not made a Pro Bowl, especially considering that the standard's kind of lowered.
Remember-
over the years.
And the team he played on and the success the team had, you'd think a guy who's played as well as he had.
With that kind of exposure nationally.
Right.
But we talked about it in the season preview episode last August. We were talking about how safety was the one position on the defense that we were all very iffy on.
Yep.
And it's still, now there's a few more needs, but it's still the situation where that's still a black hole. And I feel great about the Justin Reed signing, 28 years old.
Yeah.
He's still relatively young. He's a massive upgrade over what we saw at that position last year.
Yep.
So,
Although we liked him.
on that one.
I don't like losing Harris because he played well.
He did.
But this is a much better player.
He's an upgrade. Yeah.
Oh, he's a massive upgrade.
Oh, yeah. I think it's interesting looking at our behavior during free agency because the new guys that we've brought in, no one ever thought we were going to make some kind of multiple big splash moves in free agency, like signing the top 3 available guys or anything like that. So the guys we brought in, and I count Godshaw as kind of like a free agency period guy, even though he's technically a trade, but the new guys I like that we brought in. I think they all fit positions of need. Even the Stoll, the H-back kind of tight end we got.
Yeah. He's a blocker.
From the
He's a
Eagles.
pure
blocker. He's a
blocker.
blocker, yeah.
He could even line up at fullback just strictly. So I like even that signing. I like what we did.
Well, real question for you, since you're the fullback expert. Did Kellen Moore, do the Eagles even roll with a fullback? I don't think they did they?
I can't recall them
I don't
doing
think
it that
Saquon
often.
likes a fullback.
Yeah, there's a single back, right?
Kellen would use.
I'm asking because I genuinely don't know.
He would use the tight ends really as the
Right, okay,
Like
so
if
then-
he would motion them into the backfield.
So then this signing makes even more sense.
Or they line up off as in the wing position, like yard off, yard back, and then go block the backside. So
Guys like with Saquon's first step generally don't like fullbacks.
Yeah.
Because fullbacks can get in their way. No
And he
offense,
doesn't-
Corey. Sorry.
no, he doesn't. There's some running backs that just don't need one.
Right. I think he fits the category.
Well,
So.
Dallas didn't use a fullback either, if I remember correctly,
When? At what era
he was
are
there.
we talking about?
when Kellen Moore was there.
Oh, when Moore was there.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think they have a true fullback on the roster either.
it's
maybe
definitely.
I could be wrong.
I hate it, but it's it's phasing
No.
out.
So another reason I asked that is because Adam Prentice is still an unrestricted free agent. So
Right, we haven't brought him back. Yeah,
it doesn't look like we will.
I don't think we will.
Yeah. So, anyway, sorry,
but-
you were on it.
No, but I mean, I think I like the new guys we brought in. So if you ask me about the signings and the new guys we brought in, I would say, yeah, it's good. So, but it's interesting because it's like a bunch of new guys, not flashy, but serviceable. And then it's like the run it back committee, where we brought back a lot of the same guys that we've had. And I'm not going to say it gives me trepidation, but if we're looking to be fielding, if we're moving out of like,
well, let's talk about that real quick.
Rebuild mode. If we want a team that's going to compete, it's like, how good do we feel about competing if we're basically, especially on offense? I mean, yeah, we got Cooks, but we're basically rolling out the same dude.
Cooks is fine as your third receiver.
He's fine. But I'm not saying he's like
real
moving
quick,
the needle.
we had a long discussion last episode about, and I think we all talked ourselves into being good if we bring Chase Young back. Yeah. Because we thought he could be one of the 3-4 DEs, even though it kind of seems like he would better fit a 4-3. But we talked ourselves into it because of how athletic he is and all that. How do you feel about the money? Did that come in where you're still comfortable about it, or did we give him too much money?
I'm not upset with it, and it's funny because ironically he signed literally after we got home from recording.
That night.
Night.
Within the hour.
Yeah, within the hour. Literally, I think I was in the car leaving here.
And I was going on about how I didn't really see him as the best fit, at least not as an outside linebacker, because I was like, I don't think he can cover. And I
thought you came around at the end, though, and you're like, okay.
He doesn't need to cover as much,
I think I said maybe I hope to be proven wrong.
No.
Well, okay, so I looked at, ESPN is the only site that's updated their depth chart. The Saints, obviously, they won't update their official depth chart until the fucking preseason. ESPN actually has switched it over to a 3-4. I don't know if you want to pull it up and look at it.
Okay.
They have Chase Young, Granderson, Foskey listed as outside linebackers. And then...
Granderson?
Yeah. No. I mean, it makes sense. Because I was looking at... Well, no. Because I was looking at under Brandon Staley's defense at the Chargers, Khalil Mack and Bosa were both outside linebackers. Bosa's 280 pounds.
Yeah, but
Khalil Mack is like 270.
But he played. Didn't he play outside linebacker in college? Wasn't he in that type of?
No, Bosa.
Not Bosa.
Khalil Mack, yes. Khalil Mack.
Okay.
Khalil Mack has bounced back and forth between linebacker and defensive end.
I see it, Mack. Bosa,
Right.
I don't.
If you look at it's the Pro Football Stats. When you look at the official stats, they will list the position that each player has played over their entire career when you go by the year-by-year stats. So Khalil Mack has bounced from outside linebacker to defensive end and back multiple times. Bosa, though, they had him as an outside linebacker.
That's crazy.
To me, Chase Young can absolutely be slotted as an outside linebacker in this defense if you're going off of the Bosa and the Brandon Staley defense.
And I'm still getting up to speed on like my 3-4 terminology because I know that a lot of 3-4 schemes or coaches, they use the term jack, just like Kirby Smart and other guys use the term star for the floating DB, the rover.
Right. Star's the more linebacker DB hybrid.
Star's in
Jack's
the back.
a linebacker defensive end.
So that's what I'm saying. Like he could be listed as an OLB, but really be lining up as the jack the whole time. And I think if I'm using the term correctly, y'all correct me if I'm wrong out there, but he's a linebacker, but he's always rushing. You know what I mean?
That's what it would be.
He's.
Because you're looking at basically the three are basically defensive tackles.
Max, this depth chart is terrible, though. I mean, they have Saunders starting at right defensive end.
Yeah, see, that was the only thing that threw me off because Nathan Shepard, who they have as the nose tackle, has played defensive end in a 3-4 with the Jets.
Godshaw's starting at nose tackle.
Right. So to me, you flip-flop Shepard and Saunders, and then I think that thing is going to look how it's going to look.
This is definitely
but
some...
Brazil's going to start over Cam, probably.
I don't know, man. They were talking. Underhill and Triplett did. I think it was Triplett.
That would be malpractice.
You're not putting a first-round pick that's 23, 24 years old.
Well, look,
starting.
They were talking about how like his run defense has been so poor.
Listen,
that he's no fit. No guarantee to start.
I'm going to find a different website because as the definitive authority on this issue, that is some hardcore intern work by ESPN.com. They were like, "Yeah, who wants to fill out a depth chart?"
No, I don't know. I think look,
that can't be.
You can push back on the order of that Jordan and Brazil are in, but the positions to me are correct. And the only things that need to be adjusted would be Shepard is going to be on the outside, and I would say Saunders is going to be on the inside.
No offense to Kat Terrell because she's our ESPN person, if she had any connection to putting this together, but
I see
just
it
don't
more
see
likely
You
these
keep
two
saying
start.
that, but I just heard a whole talk about it.
I don't see Shepard or Saunders starting at the beginning of the season. I think it's
You got-
going to be Cam, Brzee, and Gottschall starting lineup in those three positions.
Okay.
The three down
I don't
lineup.
know, man. Shepard's been the starting defensive tackle for the last 3 years.
Checking my new favorite.
I know. You think Gottschall's
site.
not going to beat him out?
No, I think Gottschall is the nose. Shepard,
And
to
you don't
me,
think Brzee's starting over Shepard?
All right, let's compare it to our. Remember
I can see him not.
I discovered
Brzee the best pass rusher on our team.
Hold on.
Passing downs, he absolutely is on the field as the edge, to me.
Remember I
Not
discovered
the edge,
our
I'm sorry,
lads.
the defensive end.
Remember I discovered our lads last episode, like in real time.
I'm surprised you never heard of that because you literally, I mean, you get on the internet and look at sports as much as anyone.
I mean, I'm mostly pulled
It's
from
not
Twitter.
some fly-by-night site. The site's been around for like 30 years.
I thought it was a Giants site because of the color scheme, but because we were talking about the Giants player. But anyway, so let's compare it to them.
It's not in a 3-4 yet, though, buddy. That's why I was saying, no.
Damn it.
That's why I was saying the ESPN site is the only site thus far that is updated to reflect a 3-4 defense.
Wow.
That one I would trust more because if you look at that, that's the actual depth chart that was realistic in games last year. That's the most accurate one.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to push back for is I don't think there's any way Brzee's not starting. I agree with you.
I think in base sets, in the base defense, I don't think he's on the field
Also,
as a
look-
starter. I do think when they get to nickel or whatever, he's going on the edge.
Also, let's back it up a little bit too, because I don't even think the Saints know what their depth chart is yet.
That's a good point.
You know,
No,
like-
that's a really good point. This is all speculation.
Yeah.
This is the only one that
They
reflects
also
a
have
3-4. So.
they also have Christian Boyd at end and not tackle. which
Right, that's what I'm saying. There's a few things on there that are backwards. But again, we're not going to know until we see it. I think the only things we can safely say are Gottschall and Christian Boyd are nose tackles. Anything else is probably left up to...
And look,
And
We'll see
Gotcha.
what happens.
what we're doing
As I
right
say,
now
Gottschall and Boyd.
Yeah.
just shows how much more uncertainty there is to going into the defensive side of the ball this year than there has been in a long time. You know, like there's
Let
a
me
lot
also
of
point out
different
that Ram,
places.
that Ram checks
Yeah.
on the depth chart here. So just take this depth chart.
Well, technically-
with a grain of
He's
salt.
technically on the team, though.
I mean, what
so-
is he listed at?
He's Penning's backup.
But he technically is on the team.
He's in street clothes. Ryan, you get your.
He is questionable. So
Everybody is.
I wonder what Ramchek weighs right now.
Probably like 250,
Let's say
245.
he's got it. Yeah.
But the thing is, though, we need to see now. We got about 5 more weeks before there's going to be a mini camp where you're going to get to see the defense actually running through, base drills and all that, and we can see where the people lined up. So
Yep.
we're not. It's all speculation until we see that.
Yeah.
But-
No, it is. I mean,
It just was nice to see a site actually update to 3-4.
at least give it a go.
Give it a go. Yeah.
Because they gave it a go. Just
No, I mean it's some of the stuff makes sense. Like I do think Granderson and Chase Young are going to slot at your outside linebackers.
that would mean one of them is in coverage on passing.
Not necessarily. The middle linebackers
No.
are the ones that run coverage in a 3-4 for the most part.
You have to have a third linebacker. If it's play action, I mean,
Well, you also
like,
got to remember.
if it's an obvious passing
listen,
down,
you
we're
also
gonna
got
be
to
a nickel.
remember they're not going to run a 3-4 the entire game.
But I'm saying, like,
most of the game, they
if
probably
we
not
run
run
those
3-4.
four
Right.
linebackers out there because they're giving us that kind of look, and then they run a play action, and there's a guy in the
Corey,
flat.
you said it 5 minutes ago.
Someone's
Like,
gonna have
they're
to cover.
mainly going to be rushing the passer. They're effectively
No.
defensive ends in this defense.
I'm comfortable with one of those being the primary pass rushing linebacker. I wouldn't be
but the thing is, in a
I
3-4,
don't-
there's not one primary. Most likely, there's going to be the two
No,
primary.
there typically is one out of the four that's always
No,
rushing.
there's the multiple types of 3-4s, and there's what you can have
I mean,
both of them be primary.
The Fangio
rushers.
is a little bit different than they're all different, but
Well, where did Fangio come from? Remember, he was here with the Dome Patrol. And do
Right.
you remember Swilling or
yeah,
Ricky
they had
Jackson covering that much?
multiple fronts.
They were basically balls to the wall, going after the fucking quarterback every play. So
Who were our DAs then?
Who
in
are the
that
who?
defense? Who were the?
for the
DN?
Saints back then,
Yeah,
Was Wayne
We
Martin
had,
there back then?
not yet.
No.
not
Not
yet.
yet.
He was 1989.
Frank Wilkes was the
Wilkes
nose.
was the nose. Who was
Atkins was a
Safety.
Safety.
interior. Yeah.
Google it. You can probably find Saints 1987 defense. It'll probably pop up.
I don't remember who. I know we know.
Frank Warren was the nose tackle. I know that.
Then Jim Wilkes was still playing. Must have played an end
Jim
spot.
Wilkes.
Yeah,
That was one, and he was like a Shepherd type.
yeah.
He's like a Nathan Shepard's lean if you look at him.
He is. Yeah, he is.
So he's going to play defensive end. I feel pretty strongly about that in the base.
Yeah.
And the reality is, you're running nickel more often than not in today's NFL.
Yeah.
So it's a situational thing. When it's third down, you're going to see Granderson and Young, most likely from the outside linebacker spots, rushing the passer. If it's going to be, a running down or, would have to defend the pass, you probably won't see it as much.
Bruce Clark. I would not have come up with that.
Clark.
I wouldn't have come up with that.
If they come out in 12 personnel and we're running like a cover 4 or man
How big was Wilkes? Look it up.
or cover 2, one of those, either Young or Granderson on a play.
6'5", 266.
On a play, well, all I'm saying is I would want to see us be careful about it, because if they run a play action and they run a tight end out and a running back out, then one of Granderson or Chase Young will have to man up on a running back or a
but
tight
again,
end.
it's situational.
So it's Staley. These guys are pros. You would hope that they can.
You're going to see a lot of subs.
care
You're
of that.
going to see a lot of subs in and out. They're not going to leave. They're not going to leave Granderson and Chase Young at outside linebacker for the entire game, where they have to guard half the game. They're not going to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah.
But if you look at this, so Ricky Jackson. Okay, so we remember Sam Mills and Vaughn Johnson. They were coverage and cleaning up shit in the middle. Swilling and Jackson were rushing damn near 80% of the time.
Yeah. As well, especially Ricky too.
Because think about it, Ricky Wilson was basically a defensive end.
Ricky Jackson.
I'm sorry, Ricky Jackson was basically a defensive end. So
Yeah, he was a pass rusher.
right. So the outside linebackers in this scheme, they're not being asked to cover as much.
Yeah. Look him.
The one who, Alante Taylor, hopefully, if he can get that star role,
I don't want to see him on the outside. We got to find a way.
he
to
cannot be on the outside.
Yeah.
But he can be in the star role and be disruptive, because he was disruptive.
So,
as shit.
are you starting Yadam right now today?
As of right now, he has to.
I would.
I would too. To me, right now, it's Kool-Aid and Yadam have to be on the outside.
That's another signing. I assume y'all both like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the price, it's fun.
Yeah, because we were upset when he got
Yeah, we all
away.
like Yadam.
He was coming on strong.
Well, he
and-
played great the year ago. He barely played last year. Was he injured, or did he just
I don't
not play?
know. He was with the 49ers, where Staley was the assistant head coach, so
Yeah.
he got a close-up look at him. So.
Let's see. What else? We got Yadam, Reed.
Again, cornerback is a sneaky. No, it's not even sneaky. It's a very big possibility for pick number 9.
Corner.
Corner.
Yeah.
Because if you could add a frontline corner to the mix, because we don't know if Kool-Aid's good.
Cornerback is like the pick that I hate the most after O-line. It's like, to me, it's not a sexy pick.
It's not, but
it's useful. I mean,
It's
look at
impactful.
Marshawn. Yeah, but we
Yadam
drafted
played more
Marshawn.
than he must have been in the nickel for him, because he
But-
had 46 tackles.
okay, shit.
So
Yadam's a good little player.
I don't know if there's any other additions we've made. That to
Brandon
really
Cooks.
hash into. But yeah, what do you think about that? I mean,
It's fine.
back up.
It's fine.
The money
It's 2 years. No, but here's the thing: we don't know what the guarantees are.
they still
And
haven't.
they haven't
announced
released it yet. I'm
Yeah.
gonna guess the guarantees aren't that much.
it. Can't be. I mean,
He's your third receiver. It's fine.
If the guarantee is super low, I'm totally fine with it. I
Yeah.
wanted a different veteran than him, but I don't know what the other prices were. I would have loved to see a
A
Keenan
bigger
Allen.
guy.
I still want a bigger. Yeah,
We're missing a. We
Well-
have to get a bigger guy.
I'm
'cause we
looking
don't
at
even
it
have a tight
more
end
from.
right there.
I'm looking at it,
long.
but we may draft a tight end or a bigger guy. There weren't many bigger guys out there other than Devontae Adams. We weren't going to make a move
Keenan
like
Allen,
that.
that's about it. Yeah.
Keenan Allen's not that big though.
6'2".
He's a
He's a slender dude though. What's he weigh?
what?
Keenan Allen?
He's thick, man.
He's thick, dude.
He's thick
not
with 2
small.
C's, bro.
How big? Look him up.
I am. Keep
He's a
talking.
big dude.
I wanted a route runner to come here because that's what Olave is, and if
So if he goes down,
he goes down, maybe help him.
6'2", 211.
211. Okay, he's a little bigger than I thought. I thought he was like under 200.
he's a big dude. It's an official term. Big dude.
Man, he gets hurt a lot for 211. That's crazy.
he does
he's
get hurt.
32
He does get
though.
hurt a lot. Yeah,
I mean, his whole career he's gotten hurt.
he has. I've owned him.
I
through-
love him. He's so
He's
good.
awesome.
He's so
He's
good.
been in our league, our dynasty league. I've had him for a long time now, and
So to your point, though, we desperately need a.
We
big
needed
body
a mentor.
guy.
We needed a veteran. We have not one veteran in that room other than, I
Cooks.
guess, if you want to call. Well, now we do.
Yeah.
So I was saying I wanted us to sign a veteran. I would have preferred. I guess he kind of fits that mold.
Yeah.
That he's kind of a route runner, but he's kind of how I don't want Olave to play. I want him to play
Well,
like Keenan Allen.
yeah, but I don't think.
Olave's never playing like Keenan Allen. Let's be honest.
But even though their height is similar, I mean, Cooks is definitely shorter than even Olave, but like their skill set's still totally different. Like
Who?
Cooks and Olave.
Yeah, it is.
Like Cooks can't run routes the way Olave can. Cook,
That
he's
was one of
faster though.
He's a
Cooks
speed
is
guy.
faster, but
Cooks
he
is
was
faster.
a route runner coming out. I mean,
was.
but when you talk about the way Olave's route tree is unlimited. It's like
I mean, I
Cooks
think you're
is-
downplaying Cooks'
think you
ability
are, too.
coming out.
I am because I don't think
I think his slender frame is what cost him a really good career. We've had
Hold on,
this
Cooks
debate.
is 5'10", 190. He's thicker than Olave. Cooks is rocked up.
Oh yeah, he's
Olave's
185.
6 feet, 187.
Yeah. But
He's
he plays
skinny,
small.
bro.
He plays small.
He's skinny.
But either way, I mean, I think Cooks.
I feel like
Shaheed 6 feet, 180. We need somebody
Olave
bigger.
was
We need
more
a bigger guy.
touted as a route runner coming
Who?
out. Olave was more touted, like had a stronger
I
skill
don't
set
think
as a route
so.
Oh,
runner
I don't
coming
think
out
so.
than Cook.
Cooks, you're down.
Highly touted for the speed and the getaway, the breakaway.
Here's the funny thing. We got a first round pick for Cooks after year 3. We could not get a first round pick for Olave.
That is crazy.
after
We
year
actually
3.
got a first round pick for Cooks.
I'm just saying.
It's less than what we gave up to get him, though. But still.
hey,
But hey,
But didn't the Patriots get a first round pick for him too? After? From the Rams?
think
yeah.
you're right. Yeah, remember that's
I
crazy.
mean, it's pretty crazy.
hold on. Didn't that first round pick we got turn into Ramcheck?
For Cooks, let's see, it would have been. Was it Ramcheck?
Yeah, it was.
Or was it?
I think you're right.
It would have had to be Ramcheck.
Pretty
but
good
anyway,
fucking trade.
but
Yeah.
so the only
You're fine trading the shit we gave up for Cooks if it's Ramcheck, and it was.
Here's the biggest
indirectly.
difference between Cooks 2.0 and when we had him drafting. He was your first round pick wide receiver,
Mm-hmm.
so you were expecting a lot out of him. Yeah, you were depending on him for to a large
Parallels
extent.
between Cooks and Olave or
yeah.
scary.
So Cooks
And
coming
again,
back.
it's another situation where if you just were picking at that spot and you picked Brandon Cooks,
Then it's
you
a
were
fine
happy with your pick.
but it's what you did.
He wasn't an All-Pro. He was never a Pro Bowler. He was a good, solid player. Late in the first round, totally fine pick.
Yeah.
It's when you give up extra to
Yeah.
go get him and they don't become better.
we only
than-
gave up a third
So-
to go get him. We gave up way more
I
to
know.
go get
Right.
him.
Way
So-
more.
so that's
for
why I'm
Way
okay
more.
with
He was a
Cooks.
better player than Olave
Yeah.
in his 3 years here.
I'm much more okay
He had
with
20
Cooks
So
touchdowns.
far.
Like,
so far, yeah.
now that
he
he's
had
back-
Drew Brees, though. Let's be fair.
Yeah, now that he's back and he's allowed the freedom to just be the number 3 guy, it's much more okay.
You could do way worse than him as a 3, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
the signing
for
as a
sure.
3. It doesn't fix the issue of missing a big-bodied person, whether that's a tight end,
Yeah.
like Tyler Warren, or even Colston Loveland, or having a big guy wide receiver like Keenan Allen. We just
Yeah.
don't have the big guy. So, but it is insurance for when Olave gets hurt or when Shaheed gets hurt, because now you can slide in another Smurfy, fast as fuck guy.
Yeah, and it's also clear too that when you talk about our lack of a big guy, you just have to expect Kellen to do something to address that, because you look at his previous teams, all of his offenses have had guys with height, red zone threats.
I would bet
whether it's
money-
been Goddard or it's been Keenan Allen when he was with
I
the
would
Chargers.
bet money pick 9 or pick 40 is a wide receiver.
Somebody over 6'2".
And it's gonna be
He had
somebody.
Mike Williams with the Chargers, was their big body guy. Keenan was working underneath.
Yeah, Williams was the tall
Williams is
guy.
terrible.
And-
Even
He's
they had a
terrible.
tight end in San Diego that was.
Oh,
pretty tall. I
not
can't
Williams. I'm
remember.
thinking of the TCU kid.
Oh yeah, he's terrible.
He's fucking
I'm not talking
terrible.
about
Williams is fine.
Mike Williams when he wasn't injured,
Yeah.
was a great deep threat.
Who's
for
the
them.
TCU guy? Since you're such a big TCU
God,
fan, Quentin
yeah,
Johnson.
Love that team.
He is fucking terrible.
Love TCU.
Yeah,
Amateur college football team.
Horned Frogs.
Anyway,
Very
yeah.
amateur.
No, but I would bet money that pick 9 or pick 40, and given the fact that we can make these bets on FanDuel, I will be making this bet.
Okay.
That we are going to pick a wide receiver at one of those 2 spots.
can you make a bet on wide receiver?
I think you can, because I won a couple $100 last
Just
year
on the
doing
position?
draft. On players.
Okay.
I'm sure you can find it on one of the sites.
Yeah, you can bet.
All right.
That. That's
Yeah.
that's on
But
Either way, though, I think a wide receiver is absolutely going to be one of those 2 picks, and it's most likely going to be someone who's got some size to him.
yeah,
So
I think there's a couple almost certainties. One is that if we don't take tight end in the first, we're definitely taking receiver in the second.
yeah,
If almost guaranteed, one of the third or fourth is going to be a running back.
yeah. Now remember, we have 2/3 and 2/4, so one of those is the running back. No
definitely picking a running back, especially how deep it is. They might take 2 because of the running
could.
back room.
question. Give me Cam Scatterboo and some fast as fuck guy. My guy
Yeah.
from Virginia Tech, and then the white guy.
There will be running backs there in the third round that fall because there's just so many.
They're going to be running backs in the 5th and 6th round that are going to be studs.
yeah.
The question becomes after all this. I mean, I think that's all the main signings we had to discuss. We
Well,
signed-
hold on, so let's roll through the other ones. We had
We
Will
signed the
Clapp.
guard.
Will Clapp is fine for a backup
Backup,
center.
yeah.
Possible pushing for a starting spot at left guard, possible.
Probably not, but
Dylan Reduns, who
Yeah.
was a starter for the Titans at right guard, has
Yeah.
played right guard and right
And
tackle.
He's played all the positions. Someone tweeted the breakdown.
2nd round pick,
Left guard was the second most, or no,
2nd or 3rd. most.
Third, yeah.
Either way, he at worst he's no worse. He's Lucas Patrick.
Yeah,
which is fine because Patrick was a fine starter last year when he played.
Yeah, he's got a
Like
good
that signing.
base to work from.
1 year deal.
Which sort of changed my mind on the likelihood of
Offensive
nine
line
being
at
offensive
9.
line.
Yeah, agree.
Because they went and got two guys that could push for starting positions.
Yeah, they're trying to develop from within.
You
on
know,
that.
I don't know if you guys follow the Freaky PZ.
Yeah, he's a good
He
account.
was awesome.
Yeah,
Well, he made a really good comment because everybody was screaming out. You know, Mekhi Becton was
his
the big
title
name.
was freaking out about football thing.
Yeah, something like that. Mekhi Becton was the hot name. Every Saints fan has been, parroting.
At Freaky Peasy.
Right. So everyone's been talking Mekhi Becton. It's the only guard name you've heard anyone talk about. He made up a good point saying that Mekhi Becton was a solid guy, might even said average, but he was in between two studs for the Eagles.
Let's just remember, no one wanted Mekhi Becton last year.
Well, the fact that the Eagles didn't want him this year, and then Kellen Moore didn't want him with us,
right?
That says something.
And
He was just a
even
guy.
switched him
So,
into
but
the
my point
guard
is though, he got to the Eagles. All of a sudden, he's in between a stud left tackle and a stud and a good center. So here, he's going to be in between, as of right now, McCoy, Fuaga.
Yeah.
So if he were here, so you got to think that Reduns, who was on a shit offensive line with the Titans overall, if you slot him between two good players,
right,
he's probably going to elevate his play a little bit. So
yeah,
I thought that was a good point.
I tweeted this out from our pod account that he's kind of, when you look at his PFF grades, some people were freaking out about that because they're well below the 50s out of like 130 dudes. So, and then you look at his tape, he's the ultimate. In a vacuum, he's the ultimate coin flip, But that's kind of what you're going to get.
He got paid
if you're
like
looking,
that, so it's no problem.
Exactly. Like if you're looking for a reasonably priced,
it's a 1 year
guard,
deal.
Like he had a one rep where he's blocking a dude 20 yards down the field, and then there was a viral rep last year where he ran into his own guy when they both thought they were pulling and ran into each other.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, look, but like you said, you put a guy who's got physical talent. He was coming out with the pedigree enough to be drafted in the second round. Put him between two good players like McCoy and Fuaga. He's got a good chance of success.
Exactly. So look, and again, it's a 1 year deal. It's not a huge commitment. The money's minimal. No big deal.
Yeah.
Dante Pettis, we also re-signed to a 1 year deal. I like that signing. I think we all said during the season last year that this guy would be fantastic as your fifth or sixth wide receiver who returns kicks and punts.
The term flashes is overused, and I think we've even bemoaned it. But
look, he was a second round pick because he has talent.
He showed flashes.
And he is 28, 29, 30 years old.
Pettis was second round pick?
He was a second round pick. He's the all-time.
Is that
He
Boise?
was the all-time
Where's
kick
he at?
return for touchdown in college out of Washington.
For the NCAA?
Yes, for the NCAA.
Not just what that I don't know, like Washington record.
No.
I thought you were about to say a school record for
The
college.
NCAA.
I thought you were about to say a school record. Damn.
No, like he
kick
was,
returns or punt
returns?
returns?
He was a good player. Coming
Career
out
or
of college.
season? All
Career.
time?
Career. I'm pulling it up for you right now.
I believe you.
Anyway, so I think that bringing him back on a 1 year deal maybe lessen Shaheed's, I guess, exposure with him having to run back kicks and punts. Maybe you can get Pettis to do that and keep Shaheed a little fresher.
Yeah.
Not the worst idea. Hold on. So Chase Young, we talked about. Jonah Williams, defensive end, another 1 year deal. Guy played for the Rams when Staley was there.
Yeah.
Just seems
He's
like purely depth.
This year's version of the Ridgeway signing.
Yeah.
It's like
Ridgeway was a trade. But to your point, yes, it's about that same
in terms
level.
of personnel.
Landon
yeah.
Young brought back another 1 year deal. You saw all 1 year deals going out. It's fine. It's depth. You don't want him starting. And then Ugo Amadi, I think, was the last one. They just brought him. I'm guessing 1 year deal. I don't think it's been announced yet. I believe it's a 1 year deal. Depth,
Now,
corner, safety.
Landon Young, low-key re-signing of our own draft pick, right?
Okay, here you go. So
Unusual.
That's what I'm saying. Low-key, like some low-key a rarity.
Yeah.
That we re-signed it's been a while since we've actually done that with
Which probably means he's not good, because if they're good, they go dominate after we don't re-sign them.
Okay, so time out. So Dante Pettis has the NCAA career record for most punt returns in history.
Okay.
So
Punt return TDs or punt returns?
punt return TDs.
Look, I'm fine.
He just had a lot of returns. He didn't do anything.
Look, Shaheed,
that would be funny.
Shaheed is damn good at punt return. It's hard to pull him out of that position, but if it means that he could stay healthy, I'm fine with Pettis doing that.
I just had a badass return this one of the last
that's what
games.
I'm saying. Like if
you
it-
can see that the dude can return punts.
If
So he
he's
was a
the
second round pick in 2018.
Who drafted
by the
him?
49ers.
49ers.
6'1", 195, good size. So, look, we're not expecting him to do anything other than return punts. He had 9 career
Bowl.
punt returns for touchdowns in college. 9.
Let him do it.
1 as a freshman, 2 as a sophomore, 2 as a junior, 4 as a senior. That's pretty. Didn't return kicks, strangely.
And then we already talked about the Stoll pick. I love that. Look, depth, not expecting a whole lot, but you need a guy that's purely in there just to lay dudes out. Not a
And look,
guy that's,
he's probably your Adam Prentice replacement.
yeah, like there's not going to be a whole lot of eye form, lead back stuff like Kubiak had, but he's going to be blocking out of the backfield.
So I'm looking at these contracts. Everyone got a 1-year deal except for Justin Reed, not Eric Reed. Justin Reed and Yadam. Yadam got a 3-year deal as well.
Yeah.
Everybody. Oh, I'm sorry, Jawan Johnson. I tried to block that out.
Chase
of my memory.
Young.
You sure we didn't
Chase
sign
Young got
Eric?
Yeah, Chase Young too.
I know we signed
I'm
Justin.
taking the people we brought
sure,
in.
You sure we didn't sign Eric as well?
I think Eric's been probably in medical sales for the last couple of years.
He was in the family picture that they took. He looked good.
He was a good player.
Don't be hating on the.
He was a great player in college.
He was a good player for a few years
He
in the
was. The
NFL.
injuries
too.
kind of.
He was good.
Kind of ravaged him.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we move on to this topic that's been floating around social media the last couple of days, particularly yesterday and today, talking about the possibility of the Saints trading up Cam Ward. It's been all over social media. One of the Mackles, whichever one has been banging the drum per Jackson Dart, has kind of been
See, I thought
talking about this one. So
I thought you were going to talk about my Ashton Hall morning routine, the face in the ice water, and
So, what are your thoughts on? We've covered this in previous episodes where we talked about trading up for the quarterback, for the supposed franchise quarterback, traditionally has not worked. Nick ran through the numbers for us. I don't remember which episode. It might have been the Derek Carr game show episode. We're going to find that and then revisit it and do a full episode talking about drafting quarterbacks after day one, which you've done some research on.
We've talked about 2 different QB draft strategies on this.
I don't think we need to get into it as much.
No,
right
but I mean,
now,
like we've had the conversation about the first round specific draft up, pick your guy, and then we've also mentioned the idea, like the Saints have done, especially the past 10 years, of taking as you like to say, take a flyer on a guy in the 3rd or 4th or 5th round. So we've talked about both of those possibilities. Right now, we're talking about the one on the table with the Cam Ward buzz. Is it worth it?
No,
I don't.
it's not worth it. For us to get there, it's going to be 3 ones to get there,
Including the 9,
9 plus 2 more.
Yeah.
And then probably a mid-round pick on top of
A
that.
lot of people are throwing it. Well, I guess because they're basing it off of what Carolina did.
That's what I'm pulling up right
They're
now.
throwing in Olave into the mix as well.
Well, that's because
of what Carolina
threw
did.
in. Yeah.
I don't think it would take that for Cam Ward. I think Bryce Young coming out probably had a higher stock than Cam Ward does, even though he's rising like crazy right now. And I know his pro day was awesome, but at a minimum, I think it's 3 ones. It's probably more than that.
Well, hold on. Based on, so this is the article from Saints Wire the other day, the one that everyone's referencing. So in this scenario, for the Saints to get the first pick, they would give up 2025 first round pick number 9, 2025 third round pick number 71, 2025 fourth round pick, 112, 2026 first round, 2027 second round, so 2 first based off of the Bryce Young.
No current
And a
players.
second.
And
Is that because
And
we're at
Olave.
9? Is that because we're at 9? Because we're so high
Yes.
up? So
Well, I believe that's where the Panthers were when they
Me
moved
too.
up to 1. It was.
Can you imagine if we did that though? If we trade Olave and first round picks, how many first round picks out of our coffers that is total?
yeah,
Like that's
you don't
just
want to go look at how many picks. It's 10 picks.
10 first rounders. Is it that many?
So, no, it would be.
Because what did we trade to get Olave?
Me and Max differ on how you break that down. Max says we were going to go get 2 players, so you
cumulative
can't put
effect.
it all on Olave. I say
Sure
we
you can.
could have drafted depending where we were at, so every move was to get Olave.
Yeah.
Which was just 2 first round picks.
Because my biggest hang
it was
up-
Jalen Carter
The Panthers only gave up 2 first. They did not give up 3.
and DJ Moore, which
And
was
DJ
which
Moore.
was a Pro Bowler, so better than Olave.
Better than Olave, correct.
Yeah. My biggest hang up with any of
older,
those,
though.
I'm not.
Not by a ton. What was he? 25 when he
He
went.
had played like 5 or 6 years at that point.
How old is he now? That was 2 years ago. Thought he was 27. Probably turning 28 this year.
Yeah. Well, seeing those floating around,
He's turning 28.
the idea of it, like trading the packages, the biggest hang up I've had with those trade packages has been putting Olave in a trade package to get Cam Ward. You know, I think if you take Olave out of it, replace him with a player, replace him with another pick, we still maintain a lot of picks this year to where I don't think it's the worst.
That's a lot of money.
We still end up with enough picks this year to where it's not the worst, considering you'd be getting the first overall pick. I just don't know if this is the year. You know, maybe we'll be picking worse than we'll be, you know, back in the teens again next year, maybe. But Cam Ward, look, his tape is really good. He's shown accuracy. I just don't know if he's the guy you do this for.
Well, the problem is there is no good year to do this. As Nick detailed in the prior episode, it does not work. There's no point where you can look at it. We talked about this before you got here. So what was your baseline for making it worth it? Perennial Pro Bowler, perennial top 10 guy.
Because everyone hates Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Derek Carr is, let's just call him, for sake of argument, the 20th best quarterback in the league. Okay.
Yep.
He's been to 4 Pro Bowls. If you get a Derek Carr, this is a massive failure. Correct?
Yeah.
So what's the next step up from Derek Carr? A guy who's made 4 Pro Bowls and is a starter for a decade. You can debate where he ranks throughout his whole career or not, but that's a perennial starter, a good player at a minimum, maybe not a great player. So you need to be a great player because you know it has to be better than Derek Carr.
It reminded me of what we talked about towards the end of last episode when we talked about Shadur, and we said projecting him out into his career, you know, at his ceiling that you could possibly ever see him, the highest you could ever see him reach. What current player is his comp? So if you do the same thing with Ward, you know, I don't know off the top of my head, but that's what you have to do to even begin to be comfortable with it. You know, I think there have been years where, you know,
I don't agree with that. I think his metric makes more sense. You need to be a perennial Pro Bowl, not perennial All Pro.
Right. So you have to be able to. So what I'm
though.
saying is, you have to even, as a scout, you know, which we are.
Give
not.
us a player.
Newsflash. We are not.
That what?
Who did you say? You said Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. He has to be Justin Herbert.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to, and so
He doesn't have to be Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have to be Drew
So you
Brees.
have to be able to foresee, project, scout Cam Ward to one day have the ability to one day be as good.
There's no GM trading 3 first-round picks or a Pro Bowler and 2 first-round picks and some mid-round picks to go get a non-top 10 quarterback.
Right.
That's not. That's just reality. They think that's a top 10 quarterback.
And I'm not. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not convinced that even. I guess his ceiling could be.
Just for the sake of exercise.
Are we talking talent? Just straight off talent?
Yeah, I mean,
his ceiling is high if you're going off of just talent.
Well, talent.
Much higher than
I guess
Shadur.
take it back. Like the ability to, like, how good of a quarterback could he possibly be? Could he possibly ever be as good as Herbert? I think yes.
Absolutely. Talent-wise, absolutely.
Talent-wise, but I mean, in terms of actually executing, playing the game, you know, putting his talent to use, you know, could he ever be that good? I think yes. I'm not convinced. But,
I am by no means advocating for them to do this trade.
Yeah.
But there is absolutely a scenario where Ward is as good as Herbert.
My point is, this is not Andrew Luck. Okay.
Correct.
This is not a sure thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about, you know, him as a player or anything. I haven't watched enough of his games to give you where I feel about him even. I've seen a couple games with him. Of course, he looked good. He was playing inferior opponents when I happened to be watching. I don't know how great he is coming out. But I don't think he would have been picked first or second last year.
That's what I'm saying. If he was in last year's class, he might.
He's not.
Would he have gone? You know, where would he have gone last year? You know, but
he's a first rounder last year.
Yeah, but he's not picked before those first 2 guys. So are you going to go?
He's not picked ahead of his first 3 guys. Those first 3 guys are Drake May. I'm including Drake May. Yeah,
Drake May too. He's not getting picked before Drake May in any world.
So even if we threw out.
He can go ahead of the other 2.
Even if we kind of...
I would have probably put him in between those 2 groups.
Yeah, so even if we discarded our own analysis, that it's basically always a bad idea to trade up to go get the guy. Even if we threw that out, I'm still not, because of what y'all just said about, you know...
It's not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea.
And this is totally a, you know, if Michael had tits, he'd be my aunt type of argument. But there are years where what I'm about to say is that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad analogy now, buddy.
What I'm about to say is that. The analogy still holds. Just let me get through the thought.
Please clip this and post this somewhere. That's hilarious.
I had a feeling that this would get a reaction when I said it. But to resume with the Michael had tits, it'd be my aunt argument. There are years where it would have worked. There are years like the Joe Burrow year if you had been the team that traded up to go get Burrow.
But guess why they
Yeah,
didn't
but guess
trade
what?
it?
They never
You know?
entertained a trade.
Right.
I know they're but I'm saying
that's
the
the
Colts,
difference.
The Colts never entertained a trade when
while
Luck was
our
on the board.
theory is correct, I'm agreeing with you. Like the idea of trading up is correct.
No, it's not correct. It's not correct.
Our theory is correct that it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But there are years in which the quarterbacks are so good that if there was a team willing to entertain it,
I disagree.
I disagree
And
too,
if
man.
the
Here's
Beng-
why.
if
No,
the Bengals
there's no
were-
such thing as a sure thing.
but if
There's
the
no
Bengals
such
were
thing.
at 6 and they traded up to 1 to get Burrow
If-
that year, it would have been a success, right?
That pick
But they
is
weren't
no.
offering it.
Listen, that pick is not on the trading block.
It's not on the trading block.
If that is one of those players.
Yeah, it's just not. They're not entertaining a trade. They're just not.
I get that, but that's why I'm saying Cam Ward's not the guy to even entertain the idea for me.
What's the last trade up into the top 3 for a quarterback that's worked?
I have no idea.
I'm just saying.
Off the
does
top of my head,
anything
I don't know.
We don't. You can't even come up with one.
come- the one
We debated Vic.
no. Max said Vic. I said no.
No, Vic's a possibility. I'm not even saying it.
because you gave up LaDainian Tomlinson
Yeah.
and Drew Brees for
And
that.
I get that they don't happen
And
because if you're a team that has that pick and the guy is that good,
I'm gonna give you
you're
the
not
last
getting rid
couple.
of it. Like, I get that.
I
get
didn't look
that.
this up. I was going off the top of my head. There's 2 that came to my mind, and this is in the last 40 years.
Jeez.
One is Eli Manning, and that's if you think
yeah.
that's if you think they got a better player than Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers to me was a better player than Eli Manning. Eli Manning went to a team that built itself better. The Chargers were a really good team for a long time, but they were built with defense, and Eli won with these really good pass rushing
the
defenses.
sack record
Right.
when he was there. Yeah.
So that's the first one you can come up with, and that was switching first and fourth, and it wasn't crazy expensive if you go back and look at it. I think
It's
it was
not a-
one extra first round pick.
It's not a big gap.
Right.
Yeah.
The next one I could come up with off the top of my head goes back to 83. John Elway.
Yeah.
That's the only ones I can off the top of my head without looking it up.
What did
That-
they trade to move up? I'm trying to remember.
I think they traded a lot to get Elway.
Did they do a 30 for 30 on that draft? With
Yeah. That's a
based
crazy
around
That's the
Marino.
draft with
Dan Marino
Yeah.
and
Ken O'Brien.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it.
So it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked.
So 2 times in 40 years.
That we'll
And
look it up.
It's arguable one of them. So one definitive
But
time.
the
We
bottom
have an
line-
idea for an
but-
upcoming episode that
yeah.
we're going to do this quarterback
So
thing.
the bottom line
and-
is with this year, it doesn't even, what we're saying right now doesn't even matter because even if
to me, it would be a huge
they're
mistake.
in a
Huge
Burrow year and a Luck year, even if the let's just say the team was so dumb that it entertained the trade, this isn't that year. Okay, like it's not.
mistake. You're talking about a team.
It doesn't work anyway. It doesn't work anyway. I agree.
We've harped
But-
on how many gaps we have, right?
Yeah,
You're going
it's
to trade
not-
5 picks for one. That's your move. You're going to trade 5 picks in the next 2 years to get one guy.
Look, and Kellen Moore just got here. You're going to take away his first round pick for next year. I mean, it's
The team needs work. You can't do it. And I am 100% an advocate for taking a quarterback until you feel like you have your 10-year quarterback. But you still can't trade a treasure chest to try and get that pick to go get that quarterback. If at 9 there's a quarterback there we love, by all means draft him this year. I have no problem with it. You just can't trade 5 players to get one guy.
Yeah, I mean, I would have hesitation, trepidation, you name it. If our guys say we love Jackson Dart, we're going to take him at 9, I would really.
That's because you don't like Jackson Dart. But
I would feel iffy about it. But if our,
if
our guys are convinced that
if they feel that's the guy,
Yeah.
then you got to be okay with it because it's quarterback and
Right.
and you didn't give up anything. You picked where you're at, and
because he's not the reality.
they love him.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't either. I'm
Because
with
the
you.
exercise we're talking about, maybe like doing in a next episode, is based on the idea of what we've done in the past. I don't even know how long it goes back, like back to Garrett Grayson, where we picked these quarterbacks in the later rounds, thinking this guy, we're taking a shot, we're taking a flyer on.
Maybe
him.
they'll develop.
You know,
Ryan
the-
Griffin,
the-
Garrett Grayson.
Yeah, the question is like, should you do that even at all? But the reason I'm bringing that up is because if you look at Jackson Dart, I don't think he's a guy that comes out. He's not going to fall beyond the second round. And so if you look traditionally,
It would not surprise me if he's there at 40, though.
Yeah,
Would not
wouldn't
surprise
shock
me.
me either.
yeah. So you can still get starters in the second round.
All right, hold
but
on.
after that, it's
Let me say this about Elway, though. There is one big point that you did not touch on.
He refused to play for him.
He absolutely refused to
Yeah.
play for the Colts.
Yeah, that whole
So this is more like if Andrew Luck or Joe Burrow would have come out before the draft and said, "I am not playing for that fucking
Right.
team." Basically, like Eli.
I mean, Eli.
That's why Eli happened
yeah,
too, and it's
right.
the only 2 that worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
so
Yeah.
So the reality is the Colts are not trading that pick if there's any possibility of Elway playing.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's
correct.
So
He
you
was
kinda have
also
to take
he was
those
also
two.
a first round pick in baseball, and he was posturing he was going to go play baseball.
Exactly. So he had all the leverage in the world. So that's the only reason that trade even happened.
Yeah.
So let's remember that too. So
I think you sit tight. We all agree on this one.
Yeah.
We need to start sitting tight and drafting all of our players and try to hit in the draft regardless of position.
Yeah.
Because what's happened to the team in the last 4 years is it's gotten incredibly thin. It's been hit with injuries, and we can't perform as soon as we
have
get
zero
a
depth.
couple.
And
no
look,
depth.
I will say that whether you're a fan of the run it back committee that we've brought in, or if you're a fan of the new guys, we've done kind of the base level to at least, I'm not going to say fill all the holes and needs we've had, but at least to address enough of them to get you in a position to think BPA. You know, I would still like to see us fill a quote unquote need like tight end or wide receiver or even another linebacker with pick 9.
they can go BPA.
But I think we have done a good enough job in the free agent period to be in the BPA mindset, and so
I think they're hoping
that's
certain
the value in
position
having.
falls.
And
to
there's not really a better year to do it. We haven't had this good of a setup in a while, where we have multiple picks in multiple rounds.
Right.
I'll be honest. I feel like, okay, let me look at the roster as compared to where we finished up last season. I kind of feel better about the offense right now than I did back in November, December.
The one point I want to make on that.
But what makes you feel better about that?
I feel better about the offensive line. You know, I feel like with Clapp coming back, with Reduns coming in,
More depth, better depth.
It's better depth.
But we said earlier this is a 5-12 team. But is it, or is it a 5-5 team with the quarterback?
It was 5-12 without Carr, and
that's what I'm
with
saying.
serious injuries.
If your quarterback plays, it's probably a 8-9, 9-8 team.
If healthy, it's a 9-win team, I think.
How many wins did I predict last year? Because that came the closest.
8, I think.
No, 7. It was a losing season. I think I said 7.
8's a losing season.
Right, but I think I said 7. I'm pretty sure I said 7.
I think
I would pick the Saints to about the same right now, and I might even pick them to win one more game based on what I see right now. And knowing we still have the 9th pick in the draft, the 40th pick, and more picks than we had in the last couple
And I think the cap situation.
And DA's not here. So.
No, but it's like you said before with Carr. Like, Carr was our bank. You know, we went to the bank for a loan. So that allowed us to get the guys that we needed for better depth. Last year, I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like we didn't even address the depth that we needed, or we did a bad job of it, or maybe everybody just got injured.
Everybody got injured.
Even the
That's the
depth
biggest
got
thing.
injured. Because
I think 8 of the 11 offensive starters suffered multiple game injuries.
But even the offensive line, because that was, I think the offensive line deficiencies from last year are just as responsible for certain losses as not having Carr in there, not having Olave.
Absolutely.
So
Carr's the biggest injury
now
because the
McCoy
gap
was
in
the
the
second biggest.
McCoy's second for sure.
Well, it's like I will always say it, and a lot of people do. The quarterback is the most important position on the field, no matter what.
And it's not close.
Yeah. So if you lose your quarterback, you're gonna have a hard time.
But
unless
Carr
you're a
missed
miracle,
multiple games. AK missed multiple games. Taysom missed multiple games. Shaheed, Olave, McCoy. How many games did Patrick miss? 4?
Yeah, I mean,
4 or 5.
everyone missed.
You lose your quarterback, you're either shit out of luck or you're a Disney movie. You're either suck or you're Kurt Warner, you're Tom Brady, you're Brock Purdy.
We all agree we weren't very good, but
if
we
you're
were
not
5-5 with him, and we were 0-7 without him. You
That's
can't
my
ignore
thing.
that.
That's my thing. We should have won more games than 5 last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this team will win more than we did last year.
And
I do too.
Look,
I firmly think this is.
What's our win total next year right now?
What do you think?
Have you seen it yet for next year?
Have they put him out? I don't know.
If it was 5.5, I'd go bet that.
Well, even looking beyond players, I mean,
it's probably out. Look it up. It's probably
so
out.
like short of having actually done,
I would take the over.
Short of having done what the other teams do with a fire sale, I mean, it's.
I don't want him to do a fire sale. It doesn't make any sense.
No, I'm saying we shouldn't, but I'm saying coaching matters, right? So like we have a lot of the same guys coming back, but if you're gonna say that coaching matters even in the slightest, then this is going to be a pretty good test of that.
Absolutely. You know? Like the fire sale thing doesn't work. Like the teams that do fire sales.
I'm just using that as a preface. Like,
well, no, I know, but it much like trading up for the first pick in the draft doesn't work. Teams that do the fire sales don't get better.
It doesn't work either.
And then if you look at the Panthers who did both, like why in the hell would they give away Brian Burns?
Yeah, that
It makes you got a 25, 26-year-old stud pass rusher, and you're just going to give him away
Yeah.
for peanuts. They had bigger offers.
It was a second round pick, right?
And that's a
Just
perfect
second-
example.
They
of, like-
supposedly had an offer of 2 first-round picks right at the deadline the previous year.
And here's the thing.
Well, hold on. Let me
Yeah,
just-
sorry.
so my point is just like, why would you we shouldn't be doing a fire sale.
I agree.
The best example of how to, I don't even want to call it reload. Look at the Bucks. The Bucks basically they signed Baker for scraps. The year after Brady retires, they basically used that year to get the cap kind of back in line. They took all their cap medicine, quote unquote.
Yep.
They made the goddamn playoffs. Now,
Yeah.
granted, they're in a shit division, but we're still in a shit division.
It's a terrible division.
It's a terrible division. So I got no problem with them reloading and quote unquote running it back with some of the. I don't have any issue with that at all.
Yeah, because the thing is, our team catches a lot of flack for the cap management. Like there was a video, I forget the guy, but he was just like, "Is there a worse managed team in the entire NFL than the Saints?"
Bill Barnwell.
Yeah, you think? Well, it wasn't Barnwell. It was some younger content creator kid. He's like, if you think the Jets are bad, you think the Jags, Giants, look at the Saints. And it's purely based on our
It's
salary.
bad, though.
It's bad.
I mean, let's be real.
But it's only based on our salary cap.
But it's only bad because we haven't drafted well.
We haven't
If
drafted.
this team would have hit on the draft picks like we
Yeah.
did in 16 and 17, no one would say a fucking word
now
about
look,
the cap.
But that's part of management.
And so this doesn't mean I'm coming off of my stance on Loomis. I think he is still drafted and handled things pretty poorly. But the thing is, like, the overall ownership, like when you look at what Carolina's doing,
that's what I'm saying. We're
it's a
not
mess.
Carolina, but
It's a mess.
We're not high up on that list of.
And look, and we're a Cam Ward trade away from being like, nope, we're managed.
We
like
are
shit.
Carolina.
Look at that.
We are Carolina.
Look at
Right.
that. Fuck. So there's that. But
I mean, sooner or later, the trade up's gonna work.
that's
I'm not at all advocating for it.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Remember, no team had won a Super Bowl in their home stadium. Then it happened 2 times in fucking 2 years.
there's going to be a team.
Sooner
like,
or later, someone's going to hit on this.
the
damn
book
trade-up.
says if you're drafting number 1 and Joe Burrow is there, if Andrew Luck is there,
You take
you're not trading it under any circumstance. That's what the book says. But
If
there's
you're
also the
number
factor
one-
of reality, where one year there's going to be a team that's stupid and says, yeah, we don't need this guy.
Well, there could
But
be a team that
again,
already
I
has a
don't-
quarterback,
but I
like
don't
the
think-
Patriots. If they were the number 1 pick, there's no way they're taking a quarterback, and they might trade that pick.
Yeah.
That would make sense. You got Drake May last year; he's 22
Right.
years old. You're good. That's just rare.
Yeah.
Where you have that.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that's this year either, though. I don't think
they
that,
need a quarterback. So
Yeah.
I think they sit still and take the quarterback because you only get the 1 pick every once in a while. If you think that guy is, likely a star, you don't even have to be 1,000% sold on him.
Right.
You don't get a lot. We've never drafted first. Okay. So
And we've only picked a quarterback once in the first round.
Archie, and he
Yep.
was the second pick, right?
Yeah.
So you don't get that opportunity often. If you're there and you
have to
don't
do
have
it.
that quarterback, you
have
just
to do
have to do it. But that's why the price is so high, because people don't do it.
Right.
And then you've tripled down, and a lot of times it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Bryce Young, Mitch Trubisky, still, I know the book's still out on Bryce Young and all that, but I'm just saying, when you give all that up to go get a guy 1, you think that guy's starting and going to be a pretty damn good player right out of the gate.
The first round is where if you want to draft a QB that's going to be your franchise guy, you almost have to get him out of the first round historically. But that doesn't mean the first round is not immune from misses. It's chock full of misses.
It's
There's way more misses.
It's a majority. It's a
Yeah.
majority miss.
So
Yes.
Majority miss.
it's a dangerous game, but that's why winning is hard.
But
in
it
the
goes
NFL.
back to
Or championships.
what he was saying
Anyway.
earlier, to where if you at 9, if the guy you think is the quarterback is there, by all means take him at 9.
Yeah, and the best thing about that is you still have all your picks.
Yeah. Look, Mahomes
You have
went
8
after
more
9,
picks.
right? Justin Herbert went 6.
Yeah.
Great players have gone.
Lamar
Lamar was in the 20s.
way down. Yeah.
the last pick of the first round. I think.
Oh, was he last? I thought he was 27.
The
He was
famous,
31?
he's in the 30s.
32?
The famous Rodgers year.
Rodgers in the 20s.
Rodgers, yeah.
You get those that fall like that, but
Look
there's
at Jordan
also
Love. I mean, you can get a damn good quarterback
You know,
late in the first
when I was
round.
looking up these picks for what we'll talk about next episode,
Marino.
Breeze was the highest second round pick ever and will be
Yeah,
because he was
would be a,
before the expansion. He was 31st second round.
well, not
pick.
ever, but in
unless
modern,
the league contracts.
well, the league was
no,
smaller
The
originally.
league was smaller. So, yeah. So you probably
We didn't
had
start
someone
with
that
He was
was
the
30.
31st pick.
Yeah,
So-
but
There
they-
weren't always 30 teams.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Saints were expansion team, so
There wasn't a quarterback drafted at 30 when it was smaller.
Well, no. What he's saying is there probably was a quarterback who was picked at like 28 when that was the last pick of the first round. I'm sorry, 28 when it was the first pick of the second round.
Well, at least since Peyton Manning, yeah, I didn't go up in history
yeah, he was
since Peyton Manning.
since Peyton.
Yeah.
I can believe that. But
back
obviously
in the 70s
the Saints were an
and 80s, there's-
expansion
There's
team.
somebody, there's
Oh,
somebody
yeah,
who was
I mean,
picked.
Yeah, if you want to talk about
Yeah.
way back when, yeah.
Well, you said in history, so we had to kind of.
Maybe I used the word ever, allegedly.
But
Okay, so with all the moves, because I think we all think the moves. Yeah, the only debatable one is, do you spend that much money on Reed? But it's not debatable that the position was
I'm
desperate.
fine with it. It's not.
I mean, the Chase Young money.
But every
Gives me-
position
gives me pause.
Every position was a signing that made sense to bolster
Yeah.
that position group. So with where that leaves us today, what are you hoping for versus what do you think we do at 9? What position would you like the most now that you've seen what we signed? Is what I'm saying.
I think it
Tyler
lends.
Warren or Mason Graham. Those are my two.
Is there talk about Graham falling now?
I've seen a bunch of mocks,
seen a
not
bunch with
not
him
from the
at
big
9.
guys, but that he's there at 9. Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
if Graham's there at 9, it's a no-brainer. Got to take him. Because you still want to rotate, even though you have you have Gotcha, but
Well, you just don't have a difference maker.
you got to rotate. You know, like you got to.
But you still don't have a difference maker on the defensive line. You just don't.
Right.
There's no one there who you're like, that isn't.
If he's not a Pro Bowler in his career, I would be shocked. So
Same.
I think you go take
Like,
the sure thing.
If Graham's there, you take him. It's a no-brainer. Don't think about it. Just do it.
Agree.
Otherwise,
Tyler Warren's my guy.
It's
That
between-
realistically would be there.
Warren. I don't think I couldn't go. I couldn't go Tet over Warren.
I don't want Ted at 9. I don't.
What if Warren's gone and Tet's there?
No. Me, no.
Still enough?
It would be a.
I'd
It
trade
would
back.
be Jalen Walker over Tet, and it would if Genty was there, it would be Genty over Tet.
For you?
But he would be
yeah,
gone.
not for me.
I know your thoughts on Genty.
I'm not taking Genty at 9.
I think Genty's there for sure.
Dude, there's been a lot of smoke.
I know
about
the
him going to
Raiders.
6 to the Raiders.
I know.
Raiders are the team to do it too.
Yeah, like you have so many holes, and you're going to go take a running back. That is so Raiders. But so
This is going to sound stupid. I also don't want Genty because Rattler just went and took the number 2.
okay, that's insane. But
No, it is insane. I said it's going to sound stupid, and it does sound stupid.
so
At least you
okay,
said it.
we're all going to agree because I think we're all on the same
I don't
board
want a first round pick
with
or
Mason
running back.
Graham. If he's there, that feels like a
Slam
top
dunk.
5 pick
Slam
that
dunk.
jumped in our lap. So I think
That's a
I
slam
think
dunk.
that's
That
a-
feels like Marshawn Lattimore falling to us.
Right.
That's if we actually had maybe not as good, but if we had gotten Jalen Carter, if we
Yes.
still had that pick, he's not going to be as good as Jalen.
It feels
but
to me like Marshawn Lattimore when he was projected to go 2nd or 3rd that
Yeah.
year, and he fell to us
Yeah.
at 10. 10? Whatever it was. Whatever
one
pick it was.
before Mahomes. Was Mahomes 11 or 12?
Look, there will be.
12. So
I'd
he's
be
11.
shocked.
After Mahomes.
I'd be shocked if there's not a
So he
huge.
was 12.
Yeah.
Or no, he's 11.
11.
Because he was after
Yeah.
Mahomes was 10.
Yeah, it happens every year. I'd be shocked if there was not a huge surprise guy available at 9. Like maybe someone
There's
we're
going
not
to
even
be.
we're
If
not
you-
even talking about.
If
right?
you
Like,
look at the list right now,
every year
and how
someone-
it's changing,
yeah.
someone we love is going to be there.
every year someone is there that's not supposed to be there, and that happens around 8, 9, kind of 10. But that definitely never happens where we have picked before in like the 17s, 16s.
So is that your preference? Like you're hoping to get lucky on the position you want. You want one of the guys that we've all talked about. I think we all share kind of similar opinions, other than maybe Genty up there.
I'll be honest.
What position would you like to see fall of those guys we love? Like what if you had to pick one to fall? Is it Graham?
Honestly, the more
That's the most beneficial to the team.
I
in my
think
opinion.
That's
it
what
is.
I'm asking.
I think it is.
Or is it
but-
corner?
Defensive tackle.
But I also keep going back to Tyler Warren. I keep going back to that because he's like the king piece on this offense.
Yes, agree with that 100%. But to your question, you said what position would you like to see fall? Because I think Warren's going to be there.
I do too.
Fall would be, to me, defensive tackle because I would love to see Mason Graham fall.
The top tackle.
He looks to me like someone who could be an All-Pro.
He could he's got all pro.
There's
potential.
no way he's not a good player. Like there's no way
His
in my mind.
floor is like Pro Bowl.
Yeah. I don't see. Yeah, unless
I believe in him. Like when we picked Lattimore, we're all like, that's a fucking Pro Bowl player.
Yeah, there's a
You just
10-year
knew.
corner no matter what.
Yeah. But to your point, the elite tight end changes shit for an offense more than any other
it's a
position.
cheat code for any
It's-
offense.
it's-
And then, especially considering the Kellen Moore factor, based on what you already have on offense, it just it makes so much sense to me.
I feel like they're almost gearing up for it because we don't have a big-bodied person, a big-bodied receiver who's making a contested catch.
And you can't even look. It's fun.
And you don't think giving Juwan that money maybe
precludes
says
us from doing it?
maybe
No.
says they might not do that?
I don't
think
see how. I mean, I know they gave him the money.
Loomis said in a press conference, we definitely need one tight end. We might even need two. I don't think Jack Stoll counts towards.
He's a blocker.
No, he doesn't.
He's
So
a
to
blocker.
me, you got the one. Like the Saints tell you what they're going to do.
I'll put it this way:
You got the one,
yeah.
and look, Juwan is a 2. I'm fine with that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if
So you draft him? Are you cutting Foster?
No, why?
Keep him 4 tight ends?
I think it's-
especially if you're not going to roll with a fullback.
You cutting Stoll then?
No, you keep Stoll.
Stoll's a
Yeah, roll
fullback.
with
I mean, consider Stoll a
Well,
fullback.
that's 5 tight ends if you count Taysom.
But you're not going to.
I'm not counting Taysom.
You're not going to carry a
He's
fullback.
He's a.
You know, You're literally not going to have
Yeah.
FB on the roster. So
Still 4.
I mean,
Taysom's your fullback, in my opinion, because he's the Swiss Army knife. We're going to put him at fullback if we ever use a fullback. He's going to essentially be the football part of. The fullback player on the roster.
Yeah.
no. I mean, I guess that does. Look, if you draft Warren,
I think they carried the
You-
4.
I'm all in on.
you
him.
have a decision. You have a decision to make about Foster.
I'm on
if you-
record.
if you take Warren.
I love if we pick him. I'm a little higher on Tet than y'all. I'd be fine if we pick him. If the other guys that I like better aren't there, it would not make me mad.
I would
Because
love Ted
I
McKees.
don't like that position on our team. We've got a bunch of injury-prone
receiver?
young. Yeah, I don't like the position.
I don't
No, we need to stock up on receiver. I mean, I think that's the thing because I like
There's some guys at 40 you can get that can come in and
I
start.
think
like a T. Higgins type.
but
But if Warren's there and Tet's there, I'm taking Warren because fuck it, split him into the slot and there's a receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
For me.
And
So-
for the other option that I don't like, but I don't like it because maybe I just don't know enough about the guy is Will Johnson at cornerback, who a lot of people have there when we pick, say we should pick him. I haven't watched a lot of film on him, so I can't really say.
The injury's scary.
You know, the injuries are scary. Like, it's just one of those dudes where, like, there comes a point where you think if a guy's that good at cornerback, you feel like you would have heard more about him. I know that's kind of like a dumb, totally, like, abstract factor, but
No, he's
it
a
just,
really good
you
player.
know,
He's a good player. The
I
injuries
don't
kind
know.
of scare me.
That's why, like, but I think just like Warren would be kind of like your king, you know, your capstone piece to the offense. I think Jalen Walker would be kind of a capstone piece to the defense. I think the defense is still further away than the offense is from having like one guy to kind of make it all. But if you insert Jalen Walker in there, it gives you so much more flexibility on the front seven.
I agree.
For Staley, you can actually rotate in maybe Granderson and Young interchangeably. The world opens up, and it makes that front seven goddamn formidable. You know, but I mean,
Yeah, but-
you roll him out there with Warner and Davis.
No, I agree. I love him. I love him as much as you
it'd be-
do.
it'd
But
be nasty.
I feel like offensive head coach, like get this
Yeah,
guy a goddamn,
that's what I'm saying.
Get him
Like,
a toy.
I
At
mean,
9.
There's going to be a great tackle there. One of the two is going to be there. Almost certainly.
I would not be upset with Will Campbell.
One of them's going to be there. I think we're going to have multiple options. That's why I'm asking
I would
the
be upset
question.
with Will Campbell if we took him over Tyler Warren, or even Jalen Walker.
I'm fine with him over Walker. I don't want him over Warren. I want Warren ahead of him.
Yeah. So look, we got a long way to go. A lot could come out, but
I feel
Hey,
like
we don't have that much longer. We got about 4 weeks.
I feel like Warren's
yeah.
I feel like he's a better player. Than
I
Will
just
Campbell.
think I think an elite tight end changes your offense more than a possible guard.
We could have used an extra guard last year, though. Might have changed our whole offense.
Like an extra.
But not as much. Like if you would
Well-
have dropped Brock Bowers in our offense last year, it's way more impactful than.
We could have used an extra.
Probably. But
Good.
tackles, if he can play tackle, and if you think Penning can move, if you think he's an anchor tackle, that's a pretty valuable
See,
position.
that's why I wish the 5th-year option deadline was before the draft,
Yeah.
and it's not, because that would tell you what they think about Penning right then and there.
Yeah. I agree.
Or what? Yeah. What,
We're not going to notice. Until
And I'm
after.
telling you, either I'm probably 5th year in him either way.
But there's a big factor. Look, there's a big factor with Penning going into this year that we haven't really talked about, and that's how much did Kubiak's zone
Cover him
offense
up.
cover
Yeah,
up
that's
his
true.
flaws? Because Kellen
Look up what
Moore's
the 5th-year
offense
number is for a tackle
you know,
right now. I'm curious.
like the way, at least from what I've seen, you know, in my 100% expert eyes, it seemed to be more of a traditional approach to the offensive tackle, where they're on islands more. They're not, the whole offensive line isn't always working together in a zone scheme. So
Yep, I agree with that question. I feel like I saw him get better.
He could he definitely improved. I think he improved regardless of scheme last year.
Yeah.
But there's still a possibility that the Kellen Moore offense might put him back out on that island, which opens back up that possibility that he might regress.
So Penning's fifth-year option is $17.4 million.
It's a lot.
Chris Olave's is only $15.1.
So they're picking that up. You can write it down right now. They're picking that up.
Yeah,
at 15.
they'll pick it up.
I mean, look at the people who got 15.
I think I said last time we asked.
I don't know if I'd pick up Penning's.
I don't think I would.
You
at
can't.
17.
You can't pick up Pennings at that much.
I would probably try and sign him right now.
Give him that Cesar Ruiz contract.
Give him that 3 for $40 and move on.
No, that would be fair because I'd sign him for that.
Saints
much.
have a lot of leverage asking for that too, because it's kind of like, dude, you were 1 year away from like trash,
not playing in the
complete
league,
garbage,
right?
Maybe
before the season would be a good time to lock that in and not have to pay that 17, because I know you don't want to lose him.
Yeah, I think my final answer, and it's going to stay this way all through the draft process. The dream pick, Mason Graham, falls to us.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
The
with that.
second, the realistic pick is that we take Tyler Warren at 9. And that's my 2. Would be fine with Will Campbell. Would be fine with Jalen Walker. Those are probably the next 2.
yeah.
And honestly, I can make a case for just about anybody where I'll be happy other than that defensive end from Texas A&M. I don't want any part of him. He screams like Davenport, Peyton Turner.
Not at
no
9.
production. I don't want any part
not
of
at
him.
9.
And I'm seeing too many mocks with him there, and it's
Like, don't pick it. Like,
So here you go. This is just 9 people on CBS, just random people. These are not draft experts, but we.
it's a crapshoot at this point anyway.
Right. So they've got one has Warren, Will Johnson, Jalen Walker. Then you have Will Campbell, Tet. Then you have Barron, Mason Graham falling to us.
I would not be okay with Barron.
No,
I know he's good, but like
I wouldn't
not
be
at
upset with
9.
it. I watched him play at least. I didn't see Will Johnson
If all
play
of those
much.
other guys you named besides Johnson were gone, then fine.
right, but that could.
but if-
theoretically,
But
could
if we
happen.
went with like Johnson or Barron over Tyler Warren, over Jalen Walker, over,
you're just talking about 3 guys being
you
gone.
want to see me
now.
pissed.
You're talking about Graham.
Starting corner is probably your number 1 need right now.
That's what I think.
I know. and
That's why I said it. I think.
But are those guys like?
It's hard for me to say they're elite because I haven't
Yeah.
watched
Barron
them.
won the
And
Thorpe. He's a good-ass player, dude.
he's a good player.
Yeah.
There's a lot of redundancy with him and Alante, though. That's the only thing I worry about.
Are you mad if they take him? I'm not mad.
I'm not
unless they
Depends
pass
on
on
who
Graham.
else is there. That's what I'm saying.
But
like,
If
even,
they pass on Graham, I'm livid.
I'm livid with that. I'm not leaving livid if it's. Am I livid if it's
There's
Will
one guy
Campbell?
I'm livid.
If it's Will Campbell, am I livid? If it's Tyler Warren, am I livid? I
I'm
don't
livid-
think
I'm
I'm
livid
livid.
if they pass.
I don't think I'm livid.
If they pass on Warren for a cornerback, I'm livid.
I don't think I'd be livid. I would prefer Warren, but I don't think I could say that's stupid either.
Yeah, I agree. Corner is the biggest need on the team right now.
You got rid of 2 corners.
Yeah.
Our 2 starting corners are gone. That's just
No,
reality.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, if they draft a cornerback, it's not. It's by the book. It's not going to be stupid. I get that.
and he's
but
a top 10 rated player. It's not stupid.
It's not. No, it's not.
I feel better about Barron than I do about Will Johnson.
I kind of do too. I think.
I watched Barron play. He's a good player.
Yeah.
From what you see, which one's supposed to go higher? Because I see them both high on everything I've seen.
I keep seeing Will Johnson
Moving
might
up.
fall
Oh, might fall. Okay.
because he hasn't been working out.
biggest
and all that
difference,
stuff,
like,
so. And Barron seems to be going.
I like that Barron's gone up against SEC wide receivers versus Johnson.
And
Big
they were a
Ten.
good defense. Now, they didn't play the best SEC teams except your guys, and they got smoked by both.
Yeah,
of them.
Barron didn't look particularly good when he played my team.
He did not.
but-
That's my one worry.
Yeah.
Because their schedule was pretty easy other than
The
Georgia.
Georgia receivers aren't that good either.
Did they play Ole Miss this year? Because they had good receivers.
I don't think they did play Ole Miss.
Yeah. I mean,
Their schedule was in the SEC was kind of crazy.
Yeah, they kind of missed out.
did they
Yeah.
did they miss out on Bama this year?
Yep. They didn't play
Yeah.
Bama.
So maybe they played a Big Ten
I thought
SEC
they did
schedule.
play Bama. Did they
Texas? I don't think so.
They had to have played one of them. There's no way they missed every team, every good team.
All right, let's check. Texas schedule.
Did they already have a? They had to. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's wrap up with this.
Well, hold on. We got to go through this. 'cause-
We'll come back to you on that.
All right.
Do you have who's your sleeper guy you want in the mid rounds? Anybody? I'm sure it's a Georgia guy, but which
That's a
Georgia
good
guy
question.
do you want? Preferably one without a speeding infraction on his driving record.
That's gonna be hard to do.
Yeah.
That's
Good luck with that one.
like when I went on a spree of doing a bunch of mocks like probably a month ago.
They did not play another ranked team.
Jesus Christ.
Damn.
No Ole Miss, no Bama, nobody. So
Okay.
here it is,
Well,
real quick. It's start the season, Colorado State, Michigan. Michigan ended up not ranked. UTSA, LA Monroe, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Georgia, loss. Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M, who was ranked during the season, but not at the end of the season.
So the only team they played
Georgia
with
again.
elite wide receivers is Ohio State. That's the only team. That's the only elite wide receiver matchup
Did they play Ohio State?
in the bowl.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
The ultimate Georgia
They
sleeper
played Tet.
would be Dan Jackson.
Well, I don't care
Safety.
about Georgia. Who's your guy that you're like?
Well, you
man,
asked
in
guy
the middle round,
guy
who
from
do you want?
Bulldogs. I like. Wait, God damn it! I was just thinking. I mean, Mason Taylor's probably gonna be too high to be middle round, but if we don't
He's a
draft
second. He's a
if
second.
we don't draft Warren, I like him.
I'm talking somebody on day 3.
You know, I like all the running backs day 3. I mean, Travion, he might
He's
be
day
round
2,
2.
dude. There's no day 3. There's no day 3.
It's hard to pinpoint a day 4.
I've seen mocks with Trevion Henderson in the first round.
Yeah.
I was
Really?
gonna say that,
I
yeah.
wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't either, but they're out there.
I mean, it feels like kind of a cop out to say Scatterboo, but I would
fucking
like him. I would like him on the team.
He's your hammer, though. If you get him, you still need to get somebody with juice.
To get some more depth at linebacker, I think one of our guys being overlooked, inside linebacker, Smile Munden. He could be like a 5th round type of guy. But has he comes from the pedigree of he's no Roquan, he's no any of that, but like he's the guy that stepped up after them.
I'm taking the 2 fastest good running backs that are available.
Bashul Tootin, the guy from Virginia Tech that I was telling you.
Who's the
before,
guy from TCU? Looked really fucking good.
Not
think he's a
Kendra Miller.
wide receiver, but kind of like comp to.
Yeah, the big tall guy.
Tyron.
No, Savion Williams.
Savion Williams. Yeah.
He looks like a taller like Debo the way
His film, he pops on the film. Now, if there's any
He didn't
team,
know how to run a route, I don't think.
if there's any team I'd least like to draft from, of course, them. But I do. He looked great on film.
My guys, I like the
that
safety.
time of year.
I like the safety from Ohio State, Lathan Ransom. I swear to God, every Ohio State game I watched over the last couple of years, that dude just comes
he's
out
good.
and pops.
I liked him too.
And then my guy, JJ Pegues from Ole Miss, defensive tackle / fullback
that guy.
/ tight end.
Oh, yeah.
That dude
That
in.
dude's massive.
I fucking
Yeah.
love that guy.
Yeah.
He had like 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns.
I've got other sleepers. 'Cause there was a time where I did like 6 months.
Well, we're going to do a whole draft episode.
But,
uh,
and to Nick's point, any running back with juice, anyone who's
Yes.
fast as fuck,
We
give me the
just-
fastest running back in the draft.
Yeah,
I don't care if he knows how to fucking run routes or any of that. I just need someone that's fast that might pop a big run.
The non-Genty running backs I think that I like the most is Travion, but he's got a little bit of injury history, so but I like his skill set the best. If we're not going, Genty, I love Travion's skill set.
yeah, he can
He's
catch.
breakaway
He can-
speed, he can catch, he's a smart runner. I think he's the most complete back. Now I haven't watched much on Mario Hampton. I know a lot of people are big on him. I just haven't watched much film on him, but Travion's
That dude's a fucking raging bull.
yeah. He's more of your thumper, but
He's got speed, though.
Travion's skill set is really good for the NFL.
I love Trevion. Honestly, I'll take any of the Ohio State players. Just give me some Ohio State players in this draft. I don't care in the mid rounds.
Judkins, but Judkins will thump
I'm
it,
a
right?
little-
Winshawn Judkins is a fucking animal.
He is. I'm a little
I love
hesitant on him.
Why? He's hard nosed and fucking. He ran as fast as Henderson did.
Yeah.
Did he really? Holy
The speed
four-
didn't.
four-
To me, the
four-
speed didn't show up as much on
crap.
game film.
Yeah,
Like,
it did not to me either.
when
I
I'm
would not
watching
have
the
guessed
game,
that.
I'm thinking Henderson's a lot faster than Judkins.
Henderson's also smaller.
He
Judkins
moved-
is a true.
He
lead.
had to move up with that.
Yeah, they're both like second round picks.
That's
man.
shocking to me.
And it could be
that he ran
it
that.
could be an acceleration thing. Like if you look at their shuttle times, that might be different, or if the 10-yard split, there might be a difference there.
He's like a 9.8 RAS. Everyone in New Orleans loves the RAS.
Oh
scores.
God, here we go.
I was going to say,
No,
like,
I'm just.
I'm fine with RAS except for our first pick. Like
He did 4.48, 151, 10-yard split, 38.5 vertical, 11-foot.
4.48 had to make him a ton of money because I'm with Corey. That
6
did not
feet,
translate when you
221.
watch him
Yeah.
run.
And then let me see what Trevion did.
what was their 10-yard split?
151 for Quinshawn. And then I'm looking up Henderson. Henderson was 5'10", 202, so roughly 20 pounds lighter. They have the exact same grade on this site. That's funny. 4'3", 152, 10-yard split. So
That's surprising.
38.5 vert, about the same. 10'8" broad, a little bit shorter.
That's
So-
that's to me impressive
Surprised.
for Junkins.
Yeah. Maybe he was banged up during the end of the year, and needed to get healthy.
Here's the deal, though. He played in the SEC at Ole Miss, and he was a fucking animal.
Yeah, he was. No, his Ole Miss tape was awesome. Remember when he hit the scene? It was freaking impressive.
This is my guy, though. Tutton, 5'9", 206, so roughly the same size as my guy, Jameer Gibbs. 4'3", 240, 149, 10-yard split, 40.5 vertical, 10-10 broad.
That's
That dude's fast as fuck.
See, we need something on offense.
just a home run threat. Like, give him a crease, he's gone.
Like, just those teams last year, look how it turned out for Tampa taking Irving and how it turned out for the Giants taking Tracy. And you find these guys that can do multiple things. They're fast. They have juice. If they didn't draft Tracy, that offense is one of the worst offenses you've ever seen in history. Getting Neighbors and Tracy saved that offense because it was so bad.
Yeah.
We need one of those type players. We need to get one of the mid-range guys that can, help with play calling, help ease things up. Bucky Irving's going to be a top 5 running back next year, man.
It's so funny he fell to the 4th round because of his speed.
Yeah.
Which is the craziest shit because I watched that dude play like.
And you watch him in the NFL, he's
fucking awesome.
Yeah, give him a crease. See what
it shows
happens.
like that's the draft splitting hairs process where it's just like, well, this guy's 4.48, but this guy's 4.43, or 4.5 versus 4.45.
I love both of the Ohio State guys. I love all the Ohio State players. I'll take any single one of them.
I like the way James Pierce played a lot too. So if those guys are gone and
Wait, who?
Pierce from Tennessee,
I-
not Pierce. No, fucking Pierce is the end. The running back.
Oh yeah, Dylan Sampson.
Samson. Yeah.
He's small. Though.
Great with names tonight. Or always.
He's from here too.
That's right. Yeah, he's a Louisiana guy. But I like the way he plays. He plays hard. He was like a leader.
No, I like him too. Look, he had 20 plus touchdowns in the SEC, which is obviously always impressive.
In Tennessee, they did play people. But anyway.
All right, well, cool.
did.
Let's go ahead and wrap this one up, and then we can get some more draft preview stuff going over the next couple weeks.
Next time we'll talk about, as we're talking about these mid-round picks, is it ever a good idea to pick a quarterback? To use one of your picks on a quarterback after round 2?
We're just going to do a whole quarterback rebuild episode, I think.
I think it's more day 3.
That's the question.
We'll get into it.
That's
Either way.
the debate.
We're going to get into it.
Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode of the 28 to 3 podcast. Who dat?
Who dat?
Who dat?
What a comeback!